I went to Rwanda. I was studying in London at King's College, and I'd gone to King's with the specific intention of studying Rwanda, and just basically how the media, kind of played a role in what happened there. And so my graduate degree and my thesis was all kind of based around that. So I flew there, and I kind of emailed back and forth with some of the people there, and they said you have to go to this Helwig festival. I was like, what's Helwig? And basically what it is it's a young group of filmmakers there who are making this film festival where they travel with large inflatable screens, and they travel around the country, and they show films in Kinyarwanda, which is the local language there. And it's mostly made by Rwandans. And it's very interesting to see. Well, first of all, it's the only movie probably most of these people see throughout the whole year, unless you happen to live in the capital city. So they travel around, and it's all about reconciliation for what happened there. Because there's not a single person in that country who is, over 20 years of age now, who wasn't affected in some way. In that, losing a family member, losing possibly a limb, it affected everywhere. And it was just so interesting to see how they're using film as a means of reconciliation.
So what was it like to actually be there?
That was my first trip to Africa, and I didn't really know what to expect. My wife and I, well, my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, she was doing her dissertation in Kenya, so we'd spent a week before in the Rift Valley. And then we went to Rwanda, where we landed. Someone was supposed to pick us up. They didn't, and we had to figure our way out. So we found these motorcycles, which are the taxis. They're called motos, where you just jump on the back of a motorcycle and someone drives you around. And that was actually a lot of fun, because my first time on a motorcycle in Rwanda, which their method of being somewhat organized, I guess, is to give you a helmet that doesn't fit, and then there's like a number on the back of it. And it was just really fun riding around the streets, and it was really interesting to see, because you always have this image, from the West, you have this image of what Africa, especially Central Africa, looks like. And I got there, and it's so modernized in the capital city of Kigali that you have, it's not a Starbucks, but it's owned by a guy who used to be a major player in Starbucks. So that was interesting to see, because you see every Western person sitting in this coffee shop, because that's what it looks like. And then right next to that is this giant store, which reminds you of Costco, and you're like, there's a Costco here? It was just interesting to see. But then when you go out to the countryside, it is, you do have these houses, they're just mud huts. And it's interesting to see the dichotomy between the countryside and the city.
Did you have any sort of stereotypes that were shattered? I mean, aside from finding a Costco there.
Other than finding a Costco and a Starbucks, no, I didn't really have any stereotypes, because I didn't go in thinking that something was going to be a certain way, or other than what things might look like. And again, I thought maybe people wouldn't want to talk about what happened to them and their families during 1994, but they were very open about it. And so that was one thing that was actually kind of interesting to see, how open people were to talking about what happened there. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, did you approach people in a certain way? I wonder, like, these topics that are so heavy.
Surprisingly, I didn't have to. They pretty much brought it up all on their own, which I found to be really, really interesting, that they would just offer up that information. I think maybe they're used to that, because when they see a white person in Rwanda, they all know that we all know what happened there. So I think they just openly talk about it, because they know that person has probably come there to kind of learn more about it.
Mm-hmm. So did you want to describe a little bit more about this slide and Oliver, perhaps?
Yeah, Olivier.
Olivier,
he's not in this particular slide, but my wife and I, we went out to the Virunga Mountains, and we thought we were going to go, typically when people go out there, they go and look at the gorillas, because that's the only place you can go to kind of see these animals. Unfortunately, they cost $500 for a permit fee to go see them, which, being a student, we didn't have that. So we decided just to do the option of a nature hike, which we thought was going to be, nice roads going up and down like this. What turned out to be basically an incline of about that, down a path that was about that thick, with that thick of mud, where the water just happened to be coming down for 5 hours straight up this volcano. and then going all the way back down, sliding on your butt the whole time, trying to get down. So by the time that we had gotten back down, we literally couldn't walk anymore, and we had to take another day in this village. So we decided to go take a trip just to go into the village and kind of see where all the people lived. And we came across these kids playing soccer. And you can see this kid holding up this ball here, which is actually just a bunch of trash bags that are bound together. And it was the funnest day of my life. We just sat there kicking the ball around, playing soccer, and just hanging out with these kids. And what was so cool about these kids was, a lot of times you travel around and it's like, oh, white person give me money, Mzungu give me money. And with these kids, it was different. It wasn't just give me money. It was, hey, can you buy me a book? And I thought that was really interesting to see that these kids cherish education so much. And so Olivier, which we ended up sponsoring him in his education, just because we were so just taken how he just wanted to learn. And yeah, that's the story of that slide.
That's awesome. So do you think media is a great way as a tool to sort of bring dialogue and bring stories out for people?
In general, absolutely. I think nowadays, we have so many cable networks. We have, TVs on our phones. We take it kind of for granted. But to see the people who, like I said, they're only seeing that one film maybe once a year, and that's all they have in terms of media because there aren't the TVs. They mostly all have radios, but they don't have the TVs in their houses to kind of see that. So I think being able to see the visual medium, people are really just drawn into that. So whatever message is coming through that, they're really going to take it to heart. So I guess it shows the power of it too, because if it's the wrong message, that's what they're digesting. Mm-hmm.